Let's talk about holding your bow sideways. In some films and video games, we occasionally see characters holding their bow and drawing like this, or even like that. And you can see why, because this is very visually useful. A shot drawn low and sideways leaves the face of the character free for emoting, expressing, etc. If you've paid a lot of money for an actor, you don't want to have your character poster obscuring half of their face. It also creates a nice visual distinction between standard shooting and stealth shooting in video games. But does it work? The short answer is yes. But it has some caveats. The first one is that this is noticeably harder to aim. When you're drawing down here, you no longer have the arrow anywhere near your face, so sighting along it becomes incredibly difficult, and you have to rely on purely instinctive aiming. It's not impossible though, and you can learn to be reasonably accurate with this style. The second problem is that it's harder to draw. Normal archery involves engaging your entire back in the shot. You use muscles all the way down and on both sides. But for this sort of shooting, you're relying almost entirely on one arm to draw it back. This isn't too bad on a low weight bow, but when you take something with a bit more kick that normally takes a lot of strength to draw, it becomes very difficult indeed to draw it any kind of distance. And even for a draw that you can handle, that string is going to hit your arm around here, sacrificing a good few inches of draw and power. So visuals aside, does the sideways shot have any use? Surprisingly, the answer is yes. For a short bow like this, crouching down presents few problems. But if you're using something a bit longer, you might need to get creative. Because otherwise, I'm going to hit the end of my bow on the ground. And it could also be useful if you find yourself trying to shoot over the top of something, or with other obstructions around. For less realistic scenarios, it's also not a terrible way of lining up multiple arrows for the same shot. Although, as discussed previously, you can do that vertically anyway. It's worth noting that most of these same problems are also solved by a shot from horse archery called the jamaki, which I'm definitely pronouncing wrong. It lets you shoot while crouching. You can do it from cover. It's not much harder to aim. It looks incredibly fancy, and it gets you a lot closer to a full draw. So I guess if you find yourself in that situation, you just got to choose the shot that you prefer.